Talk about the Black people being targeted for death in the state of Mississippi. And before you say I'm being hyperbolic about this, if we had this many unexplainable deaths of white children happening in one state, you know the media would be losing their collective minds. One beautiful white girl was killed by an undocumented immigrant, and the Republican Party ran their entire election and then wrote an aggressive immigration bill in her name. But we are watching Black person after Black person lose their lives under unexplained circumstances, and no foul play is being called by the police or the medical examiner or any investigative reporters. When someone Black ends up hung for no discernible reason in questionable circumstances with no indication the victim was suicidal, that's what's called lynching. When this happens in a state that refused to pass a standalone anti-lynching bill in 2026, the state that didn't ratify the 13th Amendment formally abolishing slavery until 1995, 130 years after it was passed by Congress, and didn't even make it official until 2013, the state that recorded more lynchings than any U.S. state between 1882 and 1968, with at least 581 documented racial terror killings, the only state that banned Sesame Street because they didn't like white and Black children being shown playing together. The adults in charge of Mississippi seem determined to keep their generations of hate and division going strong, and people are dying because of it. And to be clear, it looks like at least 13 Black people have been found hanging from trees in this country since September 2024. Black people do not hang themselves from trees. Historically, that is something that has been done to them. One of the most recent deaths was Tysa Fortune, who was found hanging so high in a tree that the authorities needed a fire truck to get her down. Who would be able to do such a thing? And why did no one see anything? Because that's odd, right? Especially when we can track pretty much anyone anywhere now with those horrible flock cameras. But in this case, nothing. And when these deaths are ruled a suicide, or alternatively not foul play, evidence isn't collected or compared, a pattern isn't established. Remember, this is the same state, and in many cases, the same medical examiner who seemed incredibly cagey on the recent death of Nolan Xavier Wells, who went missing and then was found dead after going out with his white friends on the 4th of July. The same white friends who came home without him, the same ones who can't get their story straight, and the same ones who one of their moms is a local judge. In fact, I think the country's preoccupation with the death of Nolan Wells is surprising to the powers that be in Mississippi, because the world is watching this one now, and there's a lot more questions than there are answers. Mississippi needs to be on every American's radar because Black people are being murdered there, because there is no federal oversight on local law enforcement. As Reverend Whitfield of Gulfport, Mississippi recently said, justice cannot thrive in the shadows. When an 18-year-old's life is lost under troubling circumstances, transparency is not a privilege to be granted. It is a public obligation. We owe Nolan Wells and his family and every citizen nothing less than a complete, impartial, and transparent investigation. This is what systemic racism looks like in practice. The time has come to stop turning a blind eye. The time has come for justice.